Last couple of weeks, I've traveled to speak with real farmers in their fields to ask about what they think about the dangers of agoterrorism. And I've got to say, what they told me about the fragility of our food supply will give you pause.
The problem with Americans is they look at war as a binary question. Most believe we're either at war with another country or we're not. It seems they've lost the concept of the Cold War that lasted from the waning days of World War II until the waning days of the Reagan-Bush era in 1991 and 92.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
The Chinese, however, know perfectly well they are at war with the United States, and they are executing that war every single day. They deliver attacks on high-tech targets, steal intellectual property, plant moles in the private sector, academia, and the highest levels of government. We've witnessed cyber attacks as the FBI and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, have highlighted Chinese operations targeting U.S. tech companies, universities, and government agencies, too. Intellectual theft, according to numerous estimates, could be $600 billion a year, and espionage is ongoing, highlighted by cases like the 2020 arrest of a Chinese military officer posing as a U.S. college student. And those are just some easy examples. Chinese warfare in America is ubiquitous. And unless we wake up, and soon, they could win this war. Because they're fighting on battlefields we don't know exist, or at least don't pay attention to. And one of the most disturbing is unfolding in the nation's heartlands.
Bioterrorism.
Bioterrorism.
Biowarfare.
Yes, warfare. Warfare without firing a shot.
Mark Benjamin is a sixth-generation farmer in southern Michigan. His family began feeding the nation sometime around 1880.
And his forefathers and mothers have been turning this ground ever since.
They faced the Great Depression, floods, droughts, and tornadoes as well. But Mark says the recent arrest of several Chinese students from the University of Michigan carrying fungus designed to attack corn, beans, wheat, and rice is an all-new threat, and one that he takes quite seriously.
From what you've read, from what you've figured out, an enhanced fungus that maybe is fungicide resistant, and that's what you're reading. What would it mean? What could it mean?
Right now, we can treat the diseases on wheat and corn with a fungicide. But the stuff that's third person snuck into the U.S. is stuff that they can use to make the disease resistant to our fungicides.
And what would that mean?
That would mean that easily wipe out half the crop.
Half?
Half, easy, if it's on wheat. Right now, every year we're dealing with it. Even sometimes when it's treated for it, you'll still get docked if the wheat has too much vomitoxin in it.
If you look around, wheat, corn, beans, whatever field you look at, if the United States lost half of its crop, because once it was here, the fungus spreads naturally, doesn't it? It just gets in the air and it goes.
Yeah, it's airborne, and of course, it could be spread intentionally anywhere. And when you get the right weather conditions with the right amount of rain and the winds, it'll spread.
If America lost half of its crop, what would that mean?
If the fungus was to be enhanced so it's more potent, and then also enhanced so we can't control the fungicides, and we lose half a crop for a couple of years, then you're starting to talk about massive world starvation.
That's right, famine, like America has never known. Because from the first days of Europeans settling this nation, there's always been farmland, and not just ordinary farmland, but the most productive land in the world. And for the last 150 years, America and the American farmers have fed the world. In fact, America currently exports about 25% of its grain production annually. The impact of an agricultural failure here would be felt around the world, especially in areas where food insecurity is already an issue, like sub-Saharan Africa. Back roads like this have been the backbone of America from the beginning of this country. Farms, farmland. They've fed a nation. In fact, we've fed the world. But now farmers here in places like this, they're worried. They're worried that their lifestyle is being taken away, their farms are going bankrupt, and they're now being targeted by China. And they're worried because they know how ruthless China can be, especially when it comes to things like bioterrorism.
If they're willing to sneak in fungus now, and they probably have snuck in fungus before, or any other pest, or any other genetics. If we're catching them already, we can expect them to ramp it up, especially as world tensions are escalating. Sure. They're going to use any method they can find to mess with us and give themselves an advantage over us.
And if they starve us to death, they probably don't care, do they?
No, they don't care, and that's where we need to rely on our politicians and government to, help prevent it.
Alex Clark is another family farmer who's deeply concerned about what he sees on the news and reads in the headlines. And he's frustrated because to him, Washington is very slow to react to the clear and emerging threat of bioterror and using weapons as simple as enhanced fungus to take down the nation. Instead of banning China from owning American farmland, production facilities, and even seed companies, Washington remains silent, placated by lobbyists and a whole lot of Chinese money.
Doesn't that bother you? I mean, here you are, fourth generation family farm, honestly. China shows up. They buy the seed company, they buy the meat packing company, they send their scientists here to steal intellectual property when we make advancements at Michigan State or Texas A&M or Ohio State or wherever it is. They either buy their way in or sneak their way in. It's upsetting because for like my brother and I, we're a relatively small operation. We don't have any control over what China's doing. We don't have any control over what they're doing in Chicago or Toledo in terms of prices. So we're kind of at the mercy of our country, and we're competing with these Chinese, actors that are most likely manipulating them. We know they're manipulating the markets with, dipping into surpluses or changing their imports and exports. It affects us, directly.
Every day.
Directly and indirectly every day.
So what if China took the next step to destroy American crops? What would that mean? Well, according to Mark Benjamin, the damage would be far worse than hunger and bread lines. He believes it could destroy the nation altogether.
You take out the U.S. economy. How? Farms fail. You have massive bank problems if the U.S. agriculture is hit with this. Okay, farms fail. Average house in the USA, $58,000 of somebody's mortgage is just for the land the house is sitting on. You wipe out U.S. farms, land values crash to practically nothing. All of a sudden, overnight, housing mortgages are upside down because the land it's sitting on that costs $58,000 is now worth $2,000. And then that's a problem for all the banks. And we go back to the same housing crisis with mortgage crisis we had 10, 15 years ago. And then the U.S. is spending all its money to try to keep that afloat, and we're no longer able to invest in defense.
So China brings in a fungus, creates an agricultural failure, creates a failure of farms, creates a crash in the price of land, creates a bank panic, creates a default by the federal government. Is that about right?
One domino after another. Yes.
So are we at war? It's pretty clear we are. It's pretty clear that China has been targeting us on every level, from supply chains to the energy grid, and now our food. And if you can take out the food supply, as you've now heard, you could bring down the entire nation. Like Mark said, you could do it without firing a shot.
Is it an act of war?
It's an act of war, yes.
So what will it take for Americans to recognize the clear and present danger that is China?
And what will Washington do to protect our farms from being destroyed by pests delivered intentionally? The bottom line is this: targeting American agriculture is just another strategy in the Chinese approach of asymmetrical warfare, designed to weaken America from the inside out and do lasting damage to us economically, socially, and politically.